Welcome back to the Unknown Angler. Today we're going to be tying the striper crack. This is what all the cool kids are going to be using in Cape Cod this summer. Okay, so this is going to be a creepy crawler brush for the striper crack that I started tying for Cape Cod. Anyway, let's start off with 0.006 or the medium stainless steel wire, as usual. We're pushing on your holder. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Now we're gonna brush. We're gonna use the EP fibers. These are the actually EP fiber. In this case, it's the 3D, and it's the Golden Olive 3D, and also the EP fibers in the 3D Everglades. Now, this has a little brown and olive in it. This is pretty much all olive. These crabs are very olive greenish crabs. It's going to be a creepy crawler brush for this particular fly. We're going to be using some olive silly legs. So these are, I think these are olive grizzly silly legs. But brown will work. If you want to use brown, anything olive and brown. This is an olive and brown mixture for this fly, so the brown will work. In this case, I'm going to use the olive. So what we're going to start by taking an olive, a little swatch of olive, and a little swatch of the Everglades, and remember to brush these out real quick. Make sure all the fibers are aligned. I like to pull them back together again. Brush them out. Brush them out. I'm going to pull these tight. I'm going to pull them so they compress down a little bit. I'm going to pull them together. Line them up. I'm going to take and cut the ends right here. Flatten all the ends out. I'm going to take my block and set it up right at about the 1 inch mark. The olive rubber legs. I'm going to cut the ends off. Take that and just fold the whole thing in half. Yep. Go to the halfway point, just right about there. Cut them. Then you want to place one of these legs. So we're alternating olive brown, olive brown, olive brown all the way down here, or actually it's olive Everglades. And I think this is a straight up olive, golden olive Everglades EP fibers. And right down the center of each one of the colors, place a leg. Once you've dropped it, don't go in and try to move it. trust me, you'll just move all kinds of stuff around, and it's not going to really matter if it's off a little bit. There's this green Diablo crab. All right, put a little wax on the wire, snap it down, take the one end, hold your finger on the one end to lock into one end. Make 6 or 7 turns, make sure it's locked in. Go back down to the other end, put your finger on it, make a couple of turns to lock that in. Now you can go along and you can straighten out. Try to get everything nice and even. I'm not straightening any of the legs out. All I'm doing is making sure that the EP fiber is in the center. And do not worry if some of these EP fiber lengths are a little bit different length. That will actually, believe it or not, help with the fly. The more variation in the brush, the more variation in the fly, the nicer it looks when you're done with it. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Take that off. And now you can see, you really see once it starts spinning up, the olive and the brown really make it into a brush that really has a good variation in it. Make sure you go down to the other end and make a couple of turns down here. Now, one thing you don't want to overdo with these brushes, whenever you put Silulegs or any of these silicone legs in the brushes, you don't want to over compact the brush. You don't want to spin it until you get it really super tight. What you want to do is be able to get it so that nothing's going to pull out, and things seem, you seem to be getting there right now. But if you compress it down too much, the wire will bite into the legs, and then the legs will start to snap off, and you don't want to do that. And that, I think, is pretty darn good. Yep, that's pretty darn good. There you have it. Easy peasy. It's a creepy crawler brush for a striper crack fly. We'll go tie one of those in a minute. This is Sunburst Orange and it's from Flybox. But any chenille will do, or any orange tag will do. Basically what we're trying to do is trying to get an egg sac on there. Right at the bend here, bum, 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 bum. Come up to just about where it's the bend is, and then wrap forward. That's 1, 2, 3. Don't put like 6 wraps or anything in there, just 3. You're just looking for a relatively small egg sac, and this is not going to be a small egg sac. That's a pretty decent sized one for this. Once again, I mentioned before, you can use bright orange chenille here. You can use whatever you want, but basically you're making an egg sac. What we're going to put on top of that is craft fur, and it's olive craft fur, and I cut all mine into patches. This is about a 3/4 inch by about 1.5 inch size patch. Basically, you can get 24 patches like this out of a full sheet of this. There's a lot of long tips in there. Break that into 2 bunches, and then just even up the tips so that they all align with each other. And what you want is something that's approximately two of these hook shank lengths. It's about maybe 1.5 inches, not quite 2 inches. Give yourself a nice little tail there. Tie that in. Get it up out of the way, and then cut. Okay, clean that up a little bit, wrap it forward. But I like, before I put anything else on, just take a marker and put 3 or 4, I like 3 or 4 stripes along the tail to give you that nice two strands of crystal flash. This is a crab fly, don't need to over flash it. Right on top of the tail. Cut those off just shy of the end of the tail, right there. And now they're like grizzly rubber legs, olive. Tie 2 in on either side. Pull those up. I want to cut that off almost the same length of the tail, maybe just a little shorter. And now we're going to tie in our brush that we made earlier. And then we're going to wrap that forward. And I like to do close wraps on this, but I'm not sure how much that matters, whether you're doing closed or open wraps. The idea is you fill in the body of the fly and get a whole bunch of legs sticking out like this. and you get that nice variation of color with the, and then I do one wrap in front and tie it off. Now you notice I left a pretty decent gap in the front there, in front of the hook eye. The reason for doing that is that if you want to add the traditional weed guard, you can do that. You'll have plenty of room up here to do that. If you don't, then don't. But I tie a larger head on these for a good reason. Now wrap back. I'll pull everything back. Oh, that's looking good. And then what you want to do is clear out around where you're going to tie the head. And the way to do that is pull everything back with your fingers, hold it close, make sure you're not burning any of the rest of the fly. Go in there with a lighter real quick, burn that off. Finish tying your head. And then give it a couple whip finishes. I like to do 2 whip finishes, and the reason is because these flies will last you a long time. And the one place they do tend to fray at the head a little bit if the eyes start moving around, but I found that you can just, if the eyes start twisting on you, even though you got them glued down and everything else, inevitably they will start twisting. When that happens, just twist them back into shape where they were before. I'm going to pick this out, by the way, now, and keep on fishing it. The one thing that will, like I said, the one thing that will really let go on you is the actual thread on the head itself. So what we want to do is we want to pick that out with a wee bit of clear finish. I like the Loon product, but I have to admit bone dries is much better. But I became extremely allergic to bone dries, and my face broke out and everything else, and I don't need to be any uglier than I am. So I stick with the Loon. The Loon doesn't seem to affect me as much as the bone dries used to. And hit it with your flashlight. Okay, and there you have it. This is the striper crack. The green color with the egg sac really makes it. And when it's running away, they get that brilliant orange egg sac in the back. From the front, looks like a little mouse coming at you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.